And joining us right now on the Book Talk segment of the show, great to welcome Karri Chapin. She has written a kind of follow-up to really a best-selling book that came out a couple of years ago called The Handmade Marketplace. Her latest is called Grow Your Handmade Business, How to Envision, Develop, and Sustain a Successful Creative Business. We're joined by Karri Chapin today on the telephone. And Karri, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, good to have a chance to talk to you. I was able to read through the book, and I think more and more people nowadays are probably either by necessity or maybe as a second form of income deciding to have their own business, something that they make themselves. Is that true? Is it growing more?
Well, I certainly am noticing a growth in this particular industry, that's for sure. And I think, as times change, people are looking for ways to supplement their incomes or switch careers, and people have a lot more on their mind these days than just making money strictly. If they're going to try to go out on their own, I think a lot of people are looking how to be happier. And a lot of that comes from being creative and running your own show.
And your book kind of focuses more on things that maybe the person makes themselves, right? Well, it's not necessarily reselling a product maybe that's made somewhere else. It's maybe more craft-oriented. Is that right?
Yeah, craft or creative-oriented. So definitely there's not, although I do think people who did want to resell some stuff would find some useful information in my book for sure, but they're definitely geared towards people who have creative ideas and creative business plans and who want to see situations like that work in their own lives.
Well, what are some of the more...
my target audience.
Right, no, I agree with that. I was going to say, what are some of the more popular craft items that people are looking to do nowadays?
Well, the number one craft in the world that people do is actually jewelry design and making. So, but basically anything people can make by hand. Yarn craft has certainly experienced a big resurgence in the past 10 years or so. Knitting, crochet, embroidery, working with wool and other mediums like needle felting or nuno felting. Sewing is becoming more and more popular as people figure out how to make things last longer, as sort of people get back to those basic values of making things last, mend, make do, that kind of mentality. Sewing is definitely seeing a resurgence. Even things like gardening is growing. People are spending more time and money at their farmers markets. They're building their own gardens at home, figuring out how to make some of their own food from scratch. I think that all of that is sort of in a resurgence right now.
It's good to hear. You mentioned a couple of things. Knitting. I remember my grandmother, even my mother, always growing up saw them knitting, and I was wondering if that was ever going to make a comeback. So, I don't know if younger people were doing that. So that is kind of on the comeback. That's good to hear.
Yes, knitting is probably one of the more popular crafts out there at this time. There's whole websites dedicated to it, magazines just for it. Knitting craft books are probably one of the most published genre of craft books right now. That people love yarn, and they do amazing things with it.
Now, obviously, you may have a talent for making something, but making it into a business that turns a profit, that's a whole other situation. Your book goes into some of the details of what you need to do, and I guess the most important thing is making a business plan, right? I mean, you have to plan something out. You just can't make your product and hope it sells on its own, right?
Well, you certainly can try to make a product and just hope it sells on its own, but it's a quicker path to success is to know where you want to go, is to have a direction in mind. I mean, most of us have more successful trips to the grocery store when we have a list or a meal plan in hand, and the same goes for your creative business. So even a basic business plan where you just write down what you want the business to do for you, what you want to accomplish with that, and how you're going to do it is a great way to get started. Once you have your goals written down on paper and your ideas, and you've brainstormed, and you have you pick a creative direction to go in with your business, it's a lot easier to decide what to do next. And that's a big problem that a lot of us face is, how do I just get started? And it doesn't have to be as big as well, I have to hire a website designer. You know, you don't have to start there. You can actually start much, much smaller with tinier, tangible goals that you can work on every day to get to where you really want to go. And the best way to make sure you stay on track is with some sort of written plan. So I'm definitely an advocate for the business plan, but more of what I call the new business plan. You know, not necessarily the big book filled with charts and facts and figures and all that kind of jazz. You certainly don't need to get that detailed right in the beginning. And if you just want to get started, start planning.
In the book, you have some outlines of how to put that together on a more simpler scale. Like you said, you don't have to do a whole in-depth plan. Just have certain keys that you want to focus on. You mentioned marketing yourself. Obviously, one thing you talked about, we have a big one down here in our area, Sarasota, Karri, a farmer's market. People apply their products every weekend. That's one way, I guess, to set up a booth there. And also, with internet, you can develop your own website pretty easily nowadays. You don't have to know a lot of programming, do you?
No, you don't. Even the most inexperienced new to the internet business person can have a business online before they go to bed tonight. You know, there's all different kinds of websites that are out there just designed to specifically help you do that. And some of them do all the hard work for you. Like, some of them come with shopping carts. Some of them come with built-in blogs. All you really need is a computer and a digital camera and the ability to write a product description. And, some way to take payment online. Maybe you have a PayPal account already or something like that, and, you're good to go. It's never been easier to make your creative business dreams come true than it is these days, thanks to the internet.
Would you say more businesses like these, handmade products, are being sold via mail or through the internet, or is it about 50-50 internet and like local farmers markets, flea markets, that kind of thing?
Well, I think that's a pretty big question. The website Etsy.com, which is the largest internet web store for people who make things by hand. You can set up a store on Etsy really quick, and it's free to set up a store. They do over $1 billion with a B dollars of business a year.
Wow.
So that's big business and handmade right there, and anybody can join on Etsy and get a store going if they make something by hand. So the people you reach online can be at least a different audience than the audience you would reach at your local craft fair or farmer's market.
So a combination.
Multiple places too.
A combination of both, then, locally at your local flea markets and then online. You want to have both, I guess, going for you, right?
Yep. If you are interested in having your own business right now, it can be local and global.
What's the biggest mistake in your experience, Karri, people make? Is it the lack of planning or lack of product? If you make it yourself, eventually, if you sell a lot, you're going to have people help make your product for you, right?
Well, if you have good planning, then you're never going to have a lack of product. So not planning is a big mistake people can make. But another big mistake people make is they just think that they have to be at a certain place before they can actually begin. And that's just not true. You could have 2 things made. You could put them up online and sell those 2 things, make some money in order to make 3 more things, and then on and on and on. I think a big mistake people make is they just wait, and they wait, and they wait for the perfect time, when really I just say go for it right now. Do something right now that will help propel you towards making your business dreams come true, and planning is definitely a part of that. It's a thing you can do right now to start making it happen.
It's good advice there, and a lot of great advice and tips in the book. Grow Your Handmade Business. We've been talking with Karri Chapin today. And Karri, you have a website that we get a hold of you or the book if they like.
Sure. It's pretty easy. It's KarriChapin.com, K-A-R-I, Chapin, CHAPIN.com, and that'll bring people directly to my website with information about my books and other things that I share with people. So they are welcome to come and hang out there and email me through the website if they have any questions or want to get in touch.
Great. Karri, real pleasure to have a chance to talk to you, and we look forward to doing it again sometime. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, well, you're welcome. It was my pleasure to be on your show, Doug.